as you can see on the screen right now, it cannot create an entire app for you. Do you want to learn even more about iOS development and get insights into indie development? Then follow me on Twitter at FloWritesCode to stay in the loop. That's FloWritesCode on Twitter. So let's try to make ChatGPT write us an entire iOS app that fetches a list of news and displays them to the user. So to get started, let's ask ChatGPT to give us a list of free APIs that we could use to fetch the news. Alright, so it looks like ChatGPT here has a few options for us. Alright, so that's already pretty good. Let's try to use News API, just the first one that it suggested. So let's say write a Swift function to get the news from News API. Okay, so it looks like we will have to get an API key to use News API, so we will have to do that ourselves, obviously. But other than that, it looks like it's creating a URL session data task here, even printing out the error, so that is nice, and then uses a JSON decoder to decode a news response, which is decodable and contains a list of articles, and the articles just have a title. Alright, so let's just grab this code piece, jump over to Xcode and paste it in. So let's have a quick look. It was just a function, so we can add this at the bottom here, and then let's get rid of the import, we don't need that. Then we can grab this get news function here and add that to our content view. Let me re-indent everything. Alright, so that should be good. Now obviously we will need to get an API key. So I'll just go to newsapi.org and register for an API key, and I will get back to you in a second. Alright, so I just registered and I now have an API key here, so let me grab that and copy it. And then back in Xcode, let me create a new file and just paste that API key into this file. Alright, so now I can just use the API key here, so I will just say API key.key and we can then just use that. Okay, so now we have a function that gets us the news, but they're not shown in our view, so let's ask ChatGPT to do that next. So let's say now create a SwiftUI view that shows these articles in a list. Alright, so one thing to note here is that it's still using navigation view, just because the training data is a bit older than you might expect. It's from 2021 and Navigation Stack just came out this year, so obviously this will use older APIs. And it also looks like that this one is using MVVM, so we have a news list view model here, which is an observable object. Okay, that's interesting. Even creating an article detail view, I wonder if that is used. Okay, so that's used in the navigation view. So let's just copy this entire code snippet. Going back to Xcode, I think we can just get rid of the news response and get rid of the content view and use our news list view instead. Then also use that in our previews. So let's see what will happen now. Okay, so it doesn't compile because list needs the articles to be identifiable. Let's try and see if ChatGPT can figure it out. Okay, so it looks like it added a conformant and then added an ID property. Alright, and then it even gives us a new list. But I don't think that the list is actually different. No, it's pretty much exactly the same. So let's copy over the new article struct. And now, not knowing anything about programming, this would not it will compile, but it will not work because the articles from the API don't have an ID, so we will just have to create that ourselves. And there is another error somewhere. Let's find out where it is. So first of all, we need to use our API key again because we don't have a content view anymore, right? So now we have our news list view, so let's use that in our actual abstract. Okay, so we do have an app saying news, but I don't see any news articles being shown. So let's run this in a simulator and see if there is any kind of error. Okay, so it looks like there was an error decoding the articles here. So let's have a look. ChatGPT said that we have a news response with an array called articles, but this error here is no value associated with key articles. So let's ask ChatGPT what the response actually looks like. So our article just had a title, and this article here has a source, author, title, and so on. Okay. Right now we would be stuck once again, so instead we will have to use our existing knowledge to try and figure this issue out. So what I'm going to do is call this endpoint myself. Okay, and it looks like some of the parameters are missing. So we need at least source, queue, language, country or category. Let's say we want to add a language and try again. So add the language parameter to the API request URL. Okay, so looks like we got a new get news function and a new way to call it. So let's have a look here. It now takes in a language and then adds that as a URL parameter here. So let me copy this piece of code and let me paste it down here, and then let's also use our own API key again. And I think the other thing was we need to change how it's being called. So let's copy this thing here. So let's just say we want English news, and let's try it out again. So let me run it on the simulator once more. And now we actually have a list of news. So that's great. Remember that our API response actually had a lot more fields that ChatGPT wrote out for us in our article struct. So let's say we want to also know the author and URL to image. So let's say add the author and URL to image parameters to the article struct. Okay, and now it actually creates the entire article struct, so that is nice. And then even creates a source struct, and then even creates a new SwiftUI list for us with a new detail view here, whatever an image view may be. Okay, alright, so let's copy this piece of code here for the article and source, and then we can replace that here again, and we have to do our ID fix again. Once again, ChatGPT doesn't know how to handle some of this stuff exactly, so we will have to jump in and fix it ourselves. And then let's also implement this thing here as our article detail view. And as you can see, image view isn't a thing. So let's go back to ChatGPT and ask it to replace this with an async image. So let's see if it can handle that, because async image is actually quite new in SwiftUI, so I'm not sure if it will even work out. And it looks like this actually will not work, but we will try it out and we will find out if it does work. So async image does take in a URL and it does have the option to provide a placeholder, but I don't think that this is the syntax that we will. And whatever is happening here is trying to import SwiftUI X to use async image for some reason. So it definitely doesn't know about the async image that's part of SwiftUI. So one more thing that we will have to actually write ourselves. So nevertheless, let's try it out. Let's copy this async image here and replace our image view. And then let's have a look if this works. I highly doubt it. Okay, so this doesn't work. It says extra argument placeholder, so let's get rid of that argument. And I actually believe that the URL parameter can be optional, so let's also get rid of that force unwrap just to not run into any issues. Let's run this again. So we have a new issue here saying that source does not exist. Maybe we should then just get rid of the source because we don't care about it, and we also only care about the URL to image, don't care about any of this stuff. So let's try the simplified version. Build succeeded, but we have another issue where the author is not being loaded, found null. So let's make that optional. And then we also have to fix it in our text down here. So you can see ChatGPT can be used to get started writing an app, but it's really hard to actually get it to run the app in the end, because yeah, it just reuses code snippets that it knows for other things and then tries to apply them here. For example, it tried to import SwiftUI X to get an async image, which isn't even a thing. And now it failed to write us a struct here that can actually be decoded from our JSON response. So let's try to fix this up ourselves. Alright, so now we have this list of article titles and let's click on them. Hui. Okay, so this is very interesting. And I think we will leave it at that, because in my opinion this is a perfect example of what ChatGPT can do currently. It cannot write you an entire app. ChatGPT cannot write apps for you. It can help you get started. It can help find APIs for you to use. It can help structure your project maybe and create a bare bone version of your app. But As you can see on the screen right now, it cannot create an entire app for you. You will always have to step in, fix issues, fix compilation issues, and do some changes here and there, and of course also build everything together. Are you learning something new from this video? Consider subscribing to the channel to become a better iOS developer and stay up to date.